Am I the a-hole for not wanting to babysit my siblings' kids anymore? I, 23 female, used to be very close with my family. My siblings have children and I used to be a big part of their lives. I'm always taking good care of them. In my free time, I never do anything for myself. I spend it always with them because I love them. I always go above and beyond for them. Not to mention I spent lots of money on them. I'm the aunt that never said no to them. My siblings have more money than me, but all my money seems to go to their children. Now, this is not my siblings' fault. It's just what I choose to do. I love them like my own, and I never felt like I was being used by my siblings to be a free babysitter because I truly enjoyed it from my heart. I don't have friends of my own. I considered my siblings my friends. However, a year ago, I had a terrible injury and couldn't walk or use my hands for 6+ months. I went from being the girl that helped everyone out to being unable to help myself. I couldn't walk to the bathroom, kitchen, nowhere. For the first months of my injury, I lost 30 pounds and I was severely skinny. I lost all that weight due to being unable to cook for myself. There were times I needed help even using my spoon. I needed to be fed and no one helped me. There were times I literally cut my hair off because I no longer could take care of my long thick hair. There were times I couldn't take showers. It was the most depressing time of my life. I went from dealing with my injury to dealing with all kinds of problems due to not taking care of myself, not eating properly, etc. Fast forward. After months of suffering and struggling, I was able to slowly heal. And I was very mad at my family when I finally healed. I realized they used to call me every day before my injury because they could use me as a babysitter. But during my injury, they acted as if I didn't exist. There were no phone calls, no checking up on me to see if I needed anything, nothing. I did have high expectations from them because we were a very close family. I was there for them through anything, but I didn't receive the same love back. The other day, my sister called me to say her kids miss me and to babysit them. I said no. That's the first time I've ever said no. Why she's calling me now that I'm recovered when she didn't show up for me during the worst times of my life? She said it's because I never told them I needed help? Now, they knew exactly what I was going through. They knew I couldn't walk. They knew I couldn't use my hands. They saw me with their own eyes first day of my injury at a hospital, then completely disappeared on me. I feel I am only good enough when I'm helping them, but when I'm unable to do anything, I'm unwanted. I'm going to be all alone, but I decided to cut my siblings off of my life permanently. I will no longer be watching their kids for them. I've let them know this and have changed my number, and they think it's evil to do to your family. What do you guys think? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Every relationship must be a two-way street. It sounds like your siblings only want you when they need something from you. I feel terrible just reading your post. You can still be a great aunt when you can and want to, but you don't have to say yes every time to be a great aunt. Not a-hole. I also felt terrible reading this. You do not have to babysit them or do them any favors, but try to maintain a relationship with your niece and nephew still. I would hate for you to sever the connection/love you have for the babies just because your siblings are selfish a-holes. It's hard to have a relationship with nieces/nephews when their parents are a-holes, unfortunately. They will take advantage of her as soon as they realize she cares about them. Absolutely. My sister that I have gone no contact with since last year gatekeeps my niece and nephew from the rest of the family. It's honestly devastating watching them grow up through pictures and social media. I hope Opie would be able to take them out on playdates without it being seen as an obligation to babysit. She picks the time, plays, and then drops them off right after. Not a-hole. The only evil people are the ones that up and disappeared when you needed them. Did they ever ask you, if you need anything, just let me know? Good on you, OP, for recognizing your worth. I'm truly sorry this happened to you. You know, in my experience, the people who really want to help you never tell you to call and ask. They just help you. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I potentially turn away my pregnant little sister? I, 29 female, have a pretty dysfunctional family, but this issue is primarily with my mother and little sister, female 25. Now anyway, my mother showed up at my house and invited to sit me down and have a talk with me. She then informed me that my sister is 37 weeks pregnant and may need me. She then informed me that she has shown my sister where I live, because she conveniently lives 2 streets down. This was all new information. For context, my sister has been a thorn in my side my entire life. I have been blamed for every instance of her bad behavior. When I was 10, she stabbed me in the kneecap with a pencil for helping her with her homework because she wanted my mother to help her, not me. Then I got yelled at for not helping her. I was given a band-aid and grounded. When she was 12, she tried to square up with my grandmother who was 20 pounds lighter than she was, and when I got between them, my sister took off and ran away. My mother was not home and left her phone at home, so she was unbothered. When she got home and was informed, I was then slapped in the face for allowing her to leave, for causing a scene with the neighbors because I tried to carry her inside, and then promptly grounded for making her too scared to come home. She got expelled in the 8th grade for bullying a girl with crutches and caused her more injuries by taking them and pushing her. She never graduated high school. She was in juvie from the age of 16 to 18 for violence and truancy. Now she is 25, still actively doing heroin and is shacked up with some loser who is also using. My mother claims she wants her spawn, but she never stopped using no matter how much my mother paid for rehabs. I have 2 small children under the age of 7, and now I feel unsafe in my home because of this mess. I don't want her around. I don't want more of her mistakes to become my problem. And now I feel like I can't escape it. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't open the door if she comes knocking? P.S. I asked my mother what I should do if she shows up. She said I should do my sisterly duty, but she won't help. Time to cut your third bag mother out of your life too, for endangering your family with that junkie loser of a sister. Let them wallow in their filth. If they show up, don't answer the door, and just immediately call the police. Lie to them, tell them they have drugs. If you can get her arrested, that will help the unborn baby because she can't use and they will feed her. Pregnant mothers cannot abruptly stop opioid use. It puts the baby at risk for seizures and death in the womb. 3 rehab centers would have tried to transition her to a maintenance long-acting opioid to be as safe as possible for her and the baby. Ongoing needle use puts them both at risk for infections such as hepatitis and HIV as well. Hopefully she has had prenatal care. Social service involvement is a must for this baby. If the situation is as high risk as described, sister and father of baby are not likely to retain custody without showing great progress. My guess is, OP will be asked to be a safety plan or guardian. This is the question she needs to prepare for and think through. She has had 0 prenatal care. She refused admittance to rehab centers, only went for the shots and then turned down the actual admission part. Time to be a mother bear and protect your cubs at all costs. You already know that she's going to lie, cheat, steal, make a mess, act like you owe her food and shelter, make you do all the chores, then after a few months, she will abandon her kid on you. Stop it before it starts. Get security cameras and call the police if she shows up. If she gets put in jail for being in heroin, you may save the baby's life. Agreed. Your mom was wrong to tell her where you live. She's an addict and could bring her dealer over there in an attempt to get money. I would make sure all the locks work and get a surveillance camera. I wouldn't answer the door nor let her in, not even to use the bathroom. Especially this. Most people dose IV in the bathroom, and with fentanyl and carfentanil ending up in everything and OP having kids, sister could easily OD and CPS will be investigating OP. And that is a whole ordeal. Absolutely not. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my brother and best friend idiots for hiding their relationship from my parents for 6 years? My brother mid-20s and I'm mid-20s or Indian. When I was a freshman in high school, I met a white girl named Haley, mid-20s, who quickly became one of my best friends. From the start, it was clear that my brother and Haley were attracted to each other. A bit after high school, Haley and my brother became official. To Haley and my brother's credit, they always made sure this was okay with me, and Haley took pains to make sure that she wasn't overlooking me. About 2 years into their official relationship, I made what in retrospect might have been a mistake. I told my brother he should tell our parents about Haley. My parents already knew Haley as my best friend, and my mom especially really liked her. I told my brother that our parents were more liberal compared to people in their generation from a similar cultural background, and he had less reason to hide his relationship compared to some other Indians. For instance, both of them welcomed my cousin after my dad's brother disowned cousin for being gay. Well, now they're deciding to get married. Obviously, they told my parents. I knew that this was going to be a crap show, so the day they told my parents that they're home, I made an excuse and said I couldn't come because of work. Predictably, they were upset. But as my dad later told me, they weren't upset because Haley is white. They're upset that they hid their relationship from them for so long. Well, I met my brother and Haley today. Haley asked me what did they say, and I called them idiots for lying about such a thing. And I told them they were upset. In response, my brother called me an a-hole for calling them idiots, and that I don't understand the pressures an interracial couple faces. Soft Yorty a-hole. You're right that they probably didn't go about this the right way, but you didn't need to insult Haley when she asked for an explanation. Instead, you could say, you know, I'm 100% supportive of your relationship. My parents are too. They are very happy that you found each other. But they are hurt that the two of you lied to them for 6 years and didn't trust them, despite having given you no indication that they would be anything but supportive. Really depends on how he called them idiots though. Like if you're laughing saying, you guys are idiots. That's definitely not a-hole territory in my opinion. Info. Is idiots a common phrase used between all of you? My friends and I frequently refer to each other and ourselves as idiots, so I'm pretty desensitized to the word. Some people really get offended by it, because their friend group never teased each other much as they grew up. Yeah, that's fair. I'm in a group chat that intersects two social circles, and those of us who use idiots only direct it at each other because that's what we were used to. And someone from one of the overlapping circles once flat out said, wow, you guys are really mean to each other. So I can see both sides of the argument in this thread. Calling me an idiot would likely just garner a no you reply in jest. But it seems like a significant number of people in this thread fall in the you guys are really mean camp. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my wife go on vacation? So I, 35 male, and my wife, 34 female, have a 16-month-old child. For background, she makes twice as much as I do. For now, my boss told me he'll be almost doubling my salary 2 years from now. She generally works overnights and weekends, healthcare, and I work a 9 to 5. We essentially take turns taking care of the child while the other one is at work. I often leave work early or come in late to help accommodate her work and pumping schedule. She has been breastfeeding and pumping since our child was born. Recently, her supply has dropped to the point where she's not pumping anymore but will still nurse the baby. This essentially eliminates hours of work from our day. Hers from pumping, mine from cleaning the bottles and pumps every night. We did it. She did it. We made it. It's great. Yesterday, she told me that she wants to reward herself by going on an international vacation for a week with just her and her friend this summer. Her arguments are that she deserves it, she's never been out of the country, and it's something she's always wanted to do, and wants to do it before it's too late. I agree that she deserves it, but I think it's ridiculous that she thinks it's an acceptable thing to go to the other side of the world without her family for an entire week, while our baby is still about 1.5 years old. I told her that it's one thing if she wanted to take a trip somewhere in the States, but to go to either Southeast Asia or Europe is entirely too big of an ask. For me, is the fact that our baby still needs her. This forces me to take a week off work, and the fact that she thinks it's appropriate whatsoever to do something like this. She's offered to fly her mom in for a week to help with the childcare, which would help on my end, but doesn't solve the issue. She says she doesn't feel like she should have to wait to save up enough to pay for both of us. I'm hurt she wants to go alone, but understand she wants to reward herself. But I just think she's swinging for the fences at an inappropriate time. What happens if our baby gets sick? What if there's literally any kind of emergency? I told her if roles were reversed, she would absolutely not approve of me leaving for an entire week to go on a vacation by herself. Am I the a-hole for saying she shouldn't go on vacation? A couple weeks ago, you posted about how you just don't know how to help your wife decompress. She has a hard time being willing to spend money, even if you can't afford it and doesn't have ideas about what would help. Now, she has a concrete idea of what would help her burnout. You proceed to flip out. She has solutions for any of the issues you bring up. But it's still just wildly unacceptable to you for her to even think of taking time just for herself. Your objections don't make any sense. If the problem is your baby needs her, why would it matter whether she's in the States or in Europe? If the problem is her being reachable, you know they have phones and internet overseas, right? You're the a-hole so much. Please go apologize to your wife right now and start helping her plan this trip. And while you are at it, plan your own solo trip for after she's back. Before proposing his own trip, I think the OP should be ruthlessly honest about whether he has truly carried his own weight in terms of paid employment, plus childcare, plus domestic work. If his wife is coming off of a year plus of doing it as proportionate share, asking her to assume additional responsibility for a week would not be reasonable. You're the a-hole. You really don't know by now what to do if your kid gets sick? Come on, weaponized incompetence. You'll be fine for a week. Get family or friends to help you. Homegirl needs a break. Weaponized incompetence and some insecurity about his masculinity if I had to guess. The line about her making twice as much, but that in 2 years he might be making more, is a little desperate sounding. Very much I will put my weight one day, but in the meantime we should act as though I already do, sort of mentality. Yes, when I read in 2 years I'll basically be making the same amount of money, it screamed insecurity. My husband was ecstatic when I made over double what he did. It should have been this dude's idea from the jump to have his wife go on vacation after working her butt off for this manzanito. Am I the a-hole for not pretending to be the father of my friend's baby? I, 20 male, have a friend from uni, 21 female, who is pregnant. Her mother and sisters are throwing a gender reveal for her. Her mother and stepfather are basically demanding that the father of the baby attend. When she announced her pregnancy, her family were not happy. One of the stipulations that her stepfather had if he was to support her and the child financially was that the father had to be involved to some extent with expenses, etc. Nobody's forcing her to marry him or be in a relationship with him, as far as I'm aware, but her family does not want her to be a single parent. Unfortunately for her, the father was a Tinder date who blocked her and everything when she told him about the pregnancy. She really needs her stepfather and mother's continued financial support since she doesn't have a paid job. Her course requires her to do X amount of hours of industry experience, so between that and her research project, she does not have time. She has been lying for months and pretending to have semi-regular contact with the baby's father. Our friends are mostly girls with only 2 guys. The other guy has met her family before and her sister knows he is gay, but they have not met me. So my friend asked me to attend a gender reveal and say I was the baby's father. I was initially conflicted and said I'd think about it. She dropped it after that for a few days. After talking about it with a friend, I decided I really did not want to, because A, this does not sound like the sort of lie you tell once, and I don't know how long I'd have to keep being involved, and B, while we are from completely different ends of the country, with social media, I fear this could get to people in my hometown or my parents, which may believe I have actually gotten a woman pregnant, which I have not. I explained this to her the next time I saw her and she looked disappointed, but agreed it was up to me. However, for the past 3 weeks, most if not all of our friends, including one of my housemates, have been telling me how stressed out she is, that she guarantees it'll be a one-time thing, and that I have really let her down. We spoke about it again yesterday and she tried to reassure me that she wouldn't ask me again, and that she shall make sure no pictures of me are taken/posted, but I find that unlikely. She was almost crying, confessing she had no one else to ask and begging me to reconsider. I feel awful about it, but know I'll just be stressed about it getting out somehow. I've seen pictures of other people's baby showers and refuse to believe that the father of the child can be omitted from all photos. My friends think I'm overthinking and making a bad situation even worse for her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Are you insane? Stay the heck away from this girl and possibly the rest of your friend group. There is no way that this lie happens without ruining you in some way. Not the a-hole. Open your eyes and let this bullet whiz right by you. First, you'd be responsible for child support. No, no, no. If she's willing to lie and manipulate her own family, she will no doubt do the same to Opie somehow. Not the a-hole. She was irresponsible, got pregnant from a virtual stranger and decided to keep the baby. None of those actions are your fault. If she doesn't have the financial resources to have a baby, her solution shouldn't be to lie to her own family, so she could get their support and risk losing everything when her lie's uncovered. Don't get involved in that. They say it's a one-time thing. It clearly will not be. How does she plan to explain that the father is not there for the birth of the child? I think she was feeling that she didn't have any alternative but to lie. I feel bad for her, but I don't want to personally get involved. As for that, I have no idea how she plans to explain the father's continued absence for anything, including the birth. You covered points A and B. Permit me to cover point C. Loudly. C. They will try to put you on the hook for child support. Are you nuts? Say no, then block and run. Oh, and be ready for a DNA test when she names you anyway, not the a-hole. I do fear that is why the stepfather wants to meet with the father of the baby. My friend says no one will want to discuss something that serious at a party, but based on what I've heard about her stepfather, that is unlikely. No, that is exactly why they want to meet you. They want your name and information, so they can get you on the hook for child support. I guarantee this will not be a one-time thing and will turn into a dumpster fire like a bad sitcom. She's not thinking clearly because she's so desperate and is not thinking about the long-term consequence of naming you the father. But after he has your name, he could do lots of things to get you to take responsibility, like harass you, get an attorney involved, contact your family, and contact your employer. You also know your friend is too spineless to stand up for you, so it's just a trap. Next story. Am I the a-hole for revealing why I rejected a promposal nearly 10 years ago? I, 27 female, attended school in the UK. Toward the end of our final year of school when we turn 18, our schools organized something called a formal, which I suppose is a bit like a prom without the romantic aspects, as you're not expected to go with anybody. And the idea of promposals generally isn't something that's done here. Nearly 10 years ago, I was preparing to leave school. I found out that not only did a boy in my class have a massive crush on me for years, but he was planning one of these massive promposals that are often done at proms. He had always been a horrendous bully to me. He would go from calling me hideous and claiming that I would die alone and unloved, to stealing my friends' phones to get my number, or sneaking up behind me and cutting out strands of my hair to keep, or going as far as to find my house through my father's distinctive car. Naturally, when the day for his promposal came along, he came out with a sign in front of the entire school, and I bluntly said no and walked away. I don't like confrontation or argument, but I had no intention of sparing his feelings after all he had done, and I was honestly just uncomfortable and wanted to leave. He badgered me until the day I left school for turning him down and being heartless. His friends did the same, but I didn't care. I recently met one of his old friends in my old town. I went to the business where one of them was working, and he kept bringing this up, saying that my bully had gotten depressed after we left school and hadn't dated at all because he was embarrassed from the rejection and was still hung up over me. He kept asking me why I felt it was okay to reject him like that over some nasty words, and if I was really that petty. I got sick of it, so I told him. Turns out that because all of these creepy things had happened within the classroom, he hadn't seen them, nor even heard of them happening. His friends and my other bullies within the class were covering for him. The friend abruptly left without a word, but apparently the gossip did rounds. Now the friend group is divided in two. Many of those who didn't know are angry with him for lying, and angry that their other friends hid what was happening, as they think it went too far. The others are angry with me for airing his dirty laundry. His parents apparently also know now, and they're angry that he had their sympathy through lies, and now know that he practically stalked me. Which brings up questions about whether they want him to take over the small farm versus a younger brother. I wonder if I should have just let his friend be mad at me. I'd probably have never seen him again anyway. I didn't know that he would tell anyone, as he'd never been one for gossip that I knew of. But I also didn't expect this to potentially ruin the life of someone I haven't seen for nearly a decade. Am I the a-hole for telling his friend the truth about what happened? The others are angry with me for airing his dirty laundry. Oh well, let them be. You didn't dirty the laundry. You're just refusing to whitewash it. Dude was a stalker and a bully. Now everyone knows the truth. Not the a-hole. Plus, It is not like Opie was a bystander gossiping about why so-and-so rejected bully dude a decade ago. Opie was talking about what her bully had been doing to her for several years. She was talking about her own life. It is not her fault that talking about a deeply unpleasant period of her own life paints a bad picture of him. Victims are far too often tasked with sparing a bully's feelings when those same people didn't at any point think the victim's feeling mattered. Looks like you forgot to block some a-holes. You should see to that. Not a-hole. Were you expected to lie for someone who made your life hell for years? How could possibly have known that everyone would find out, and even if you did, that changes nothing. He chose to do what he did all those years ago, and now is getting found out for being a creep and a bully and lying to all his friends. And that's somehow your fault? I don't think so. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share my friends/roommates to use my laptop? 6 of us, me, boyfriend, and 4 other friends, are renting out a unit together so we can be closer to all the good summer jobs in a touristy town. The property has a TV that isn't a smart TV. It only works if something is connected to the HDMI cable. We have been using my laptop to watch movies/YouTube/shows together this way all week. I just started training at my summer job, and they are demanding to know my laptop password so they can keep watching movies while I'm at work. I've tried to explain that I have very personal things on my laptop. Discord and Messenger auto start and have notifications, and I'm logged into all my accounts in my browser. They're extremely offended by this and say that I don't trust them and think they will snoop or go through my stuff or read my messages. I don't think they would intentionally snoop. I just don't want them accidentally seeing anything personal without me in the room. Now, everyone is mad at me because they can't use the TV if I'm at work. I've told them to just get a Chromecast or something, and they're acting like now they have to buy it. Since I'm an a-hole, I don't trust them. Am I the a-hole? Not a-hole. How is it possible that only 1 of 6 young adults in an apartment has a laptop? I don't know where you are, but I just looked on Best Buy and they've got a 24-inch smart TV for $70. Surely the people who want a smart TV can come up with that money and leave your private laptop alone. We don't live in this area. We came here for 3 months because it's a beach town and the businesses hire extra help like crazy around this time, and the vacation goers tip really well. I'm the only one that brought a laptop. The others only brought their phones. I suggested ordering a Chromecast and they're still mad that they would have to get something else that isn't the laptop I already brought. Not the a-hole. They need to get their own laptop. I access my banking and credit card accounts through my laptop. No is no. Not the a-hole. You don't want something to pop up. That's none of their business. They can get their own TV doohickey. Not the a-hole. That's a weird demand from people who don't own a laptop. Even if there wasn't personal information you're worried about, it doesn't belong to them. If you wanted, you could make a guest login on your computer for them to use, but I personally don't let out my electronics because of the risk of damage. While they may not drop it, they could misuse the battery, like charging incorrectly. The oils on fingers degrade the paint on keys, general dust, food crumbs, how hard they're hitting keys can make them stick. Just know, Roku is cheap and lets you cast from your phone, so they can easily do that between 4 to 5 of them. It's absurd they're so upset about this. Also, they have streaming on their phones. Though a guest account does take away the security issue, are they willing to assume responsibility if something happens to the laptop? If they're so upset about getting a $30 Roku dongle, imagine how much more hassle it will be if the laptop is damaged. Besides, what happens when everyone wants to watch TV but Opie needs to use the laptop? Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my brother-in-law a failure after he compared me to my sister? I, 30 female, have a stepsister, Chloe, 32 female, who is married to Joe, 34 male. They have a son, Liam, 4, and my husband and I have a daughter, Ava, 3. Joe, Chloe, Liam, and our parents, her dad and my mom, came to visit my husband and me at our home abroad last week, as there's lots of events going on here and good weather. We all had a good time, but it was obvious Joe and Chloe were having some issues, both with Liam and each other. Nothing serious, just tension and a few snide remarks about Liam's behavior and Chloe's appearance from Joe. Over the weekend, we all went out to have lunch and then watch a local event with the intention of attending a party afterwards. It was a long day with 3 distinct parts to it, so I had to change clothes. I changed before lunch, and when I came down to lunch, Joe said I looked nice. I said thanks, thinking that would be the end of it. But he launched into a whole rant, at a table with everyone there, about how he wished Chloe would make more of an effort with her appearance, how she still had baby weight, never thought about how she looked or how he felt being out with her, and how since I managed to keep myself together while having a husband who is never around, it obviously can be done. I was incensed. This greasy gnome had insulted 3 out of the 5 of the adults in front of our parents and the kids. So I told Joe I married a husband and a father, not an extra child, and he provides support, not excuses. If I was a single parent with a 9-to-5 and you to come home to, it wouldn't look like this. That is a reflection of your failures, not Chloe's. Joe grumbled that he was only making a point, but my stepdad said that everyone needed to calm down and we should just get on with our meal, which we did. Joe stayed away from pretty much everyone for the rest of the afternoon, while Chloe sat with us but was sullen and withdrawn. When I tried to talk to her about what happened, she blew up at me saying I insulted her and Joe's situation with the way I spoke to him. I said I never intended to embarrass her unlike her husband, and that Joe had insulted me too, by turning me into some archaic fantasy. Chloe was still angry and said I had proven his point, and made it worse by making her look like she was married to an idiot, and I should have just brushed it off. I gave up trying to talk to her, and the rest of the trip was awkward between us. My parents say I'm not the a-hole, but my husband says I sort of was. He absolutely supports everything I said, but agrees with Chloe that by defending myself, Chloe became collateral damage. I don't think I'm in the wrong, because what Joe said was weird and demeaning, and it did involve me. It's not like I gave some unsolicited or untrue response. That said, some of my friends also think I should have just let it go since I was in the most insulted party. Not the a-hole. You didn't make her look like she married an idiot. She married an idiot. Came to say exactly this. Chloe isn't mad at you. She's mad that she can't keep hiding her giant waste of space husband. And she's mad at herself for not doing anything about it. Yes, Chloe has no power in her relationship with idiot child boy, so she can only be mad at her sister. This is such sexist BS. Brother-in-law's the a-hole, and your husband needs to get in line. You know this already, but not the a-hole. Your brother-in-law is a huge a-hole. But it sounds like your sister and her husband are having more than some issues if he uses you to hurt her. Maybe your sister needs someone to be there for her. Going by her response, that clearly isn't what she wants. OP should leave her to her own devices. On the contrary, this is very common to abused people. They lash out their anger and frustration at safe targets because they can't at the cost of their anger. It's not on purpose, it's a psychological defense mechanism. She needs support and therapy, not getting more isolated from anyone who can help her, even if she's lashing out. Am I the a-hole for leaving my fiancé's family trip after he pranked me? My fiancé's mother, Leah, hates me. I honestly hate her too. I've never felt this way about another human being before, but she has been nothing but awful since day one. It got to the point she was telling people she didn't even have a son and wouldn't speak to him because she hates me so much. I could see how depressed he was over losing her and agreed to family therapy. Leah agreed in therapy to stop being mean to me if she didn't have to talk to me at all, so she just pretends I don't exist. There were some very strict boundaries with this. She only gets to see her son occasionally. She will have no relationship with her grandkids, and if she starts with me again, he is done with her. Leah happily agreed. Their relationship is kind of awkward these days, but I know he needs her in his life, and she's much better when we do see her. I recently agreed to go on a family trip with him. We attended a wedding out of state and spent a few days there. Leah was there, but she's very happy not to speak to me, so I wasn't worried. We were going to a water park with Leah and his 2 teenage sisters, Leah's husband and one of his sister's boyfriends. I had a bikini, but my fiancé said he didn't think I should wear one that tied in the back because some of the rides were very intense. And he said he saw one that he loved for me when he was out with his sister. I thought that was sweet. I love wearing stuff I know he likes, so I wore it. Imagine my surprise when we got there and Leah had the same bikini. It was like something out of a movie. She stopped mid-walk and just glared at me. Everyone was laughing because they were all in on it. They saw something similar in TikTok and thought it would be funny due to how much we hate each other. They had been trying to pull it off for a while, but Leah bought a bathing suit while on the trip, so they saw the opportunity. Her husband and my fiancé were taking pictures of us. Leah was angry. Well, I was about to cry. Leah wasn't happy but got over it because she does join in on the pranks and the joking in the family. I don't, so it felt undeserved. And she and her husband have much more of a playful back and forth dynamic, so she didn't feel so betrayed. It was still really embarrassing walking around with her. I know this is probably petty, but I also felt insecure because she has a nicer body than me, and I just didn't want to feel like there was any competition. Leah's husband even said something about, at least I get to be married to the hot one. I decided to leave because I wasn't having fun. My fiancé was upset and felt I ruined the day but did offer to leave with me. I said it was okay, but when I got back to the hotel, I decided to change my flight and go home. I just don't like being the butt of the joke and didn't want to be there. My fiancé called me very hurt and said he felt leaving was an overreaction and now he's embarrassed in front of his family. Now for the top comments. Not day-hole. At this point, I would be rethinking the entire wedding. What kind of a-hole plays a prank like this on the woman he professes to love? A successful prank is one where, when all is said and done, everyone is laughing. This one humiliated you. That's not a prank. That is straight-up emotional abuse. And Leah got over it because she enjoyed your humiliation, and that her son is coming closer to her family with an act like this. There it is. Yep, honestly, Leah is an antagonizer. Because of her behavior and childish attitude, she's causing toxicity in the family by choosing to pretend you're not there anyway in the first place. I wouldn't put it past someone this cruel to find joy and sadness of others, even if it's at the expense of the person her son is in love with. I don't blame you, Opie. Not day-hole. Even if you let this slide, Leah would likely find other ways to make the relationship among the family unhealthy. If not on this trip, soon afterwards. I'm sorry. I would talk to your fiancé about this. It was mean, especially because he knew his mother chooses to pretend you don't exist. Also, what therapist would endorse this as a strategy? Is there a subreddit about bad therapists? Not day-hole. Honestly, this prank is the least of your problems. You're engaged to someone whose mother hates you, to the point where she pretends you don't exist and doesn't speak to you. And he tolerates that. Good luck marrying this dude. You're in for a bumpy ride. Next story. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my husband for messing with my alarm and causing me to miss my exam? I, female 23, have been married to my husband, male 26, for a year. I'm in my last year of university and been so busy for the last 2 weeks, with many projects and finals looming. My husband complains from seeing me studying and not doing activities together or hanging out with friends anymore. I've told him it's not gonna last forever and that I need to focus because this is my last year, and it's been the hardest. The day before the exam, he wanted me to go with him to a friend's birthday party. I refused because I was busy preparing for my exam. He pleaded with me saying it's just 1 hour and talked about how his friends will be upset if I'm not there. I said no and shut down any further discussions. He got upset and called me selfish and inconsiderate, but then dropped it. Before I went to bed, I set my alarm clock like I always do since I'm a heavy sleeper, plus I stayed up late studying. The next morning, I woke up at 9 a.m. I literally freaked out and checked my alarm and found that it was set to go off at 9:30 a.m. I had no idea how this happened until my husband told me he did this to repay me for refusing to take 1 hour to attend a party, so he took this hour from my time. I couldn't believe it. I absolutely blew up at him, just yelling and screaming at him left and right. He just stood there shocked for my reaction and my rage. I got dressed quickly and rushed to the university. They didn't let me into the exam hall. I got into a lot of hassle to get them to reschedule the exam, especially since I had no legit reason as to why I was late. It was awful is all I can say. I went home and my husband and I stopped speaking to each other. He kept acting as if I hurt his feelings and traumatized him by yelling, and that I deserve what he did since he was frustrated with my continued refusal to attend all events for the past 2 weeks. I might be wrong for not considering it, but I think that my exam should be a priority, and his way of teaching me a lesson was not right. Not stay home. Holy crap. Your husband wanted to actively ruin your future because of a freaking party you couldn't attend? What kind of husband would do something like that? That's so petty. I think he deserved a lot more than just being yelled at. I would have kicked him out immediately. My husband and I started dating around the time of my second master's and got married after I had completed it. Now I'm in a PhD program, Through all of it, I've had to work insanely hard, but never has the man complained once. Your partner should be understanding the importance of your education and career. Not stay whole OP, but I strongly suggest rethinking living with this man. My husband was in law school when we were married. The first year, he disappeared from our social circle for finals. Then for another month studying for the bar. I gave him all the space he needed. I had been a lawyer a few years by then and knew what it took. Not stay home. What a terrible partner. Not stay home. Honey, I'll be straight with you. Your husband is abusive. He wants to control what you do and does not support your success. Please tell your place of study that you missed the exam because you're in a horrible relationship. Leave him as soon as it's safe, and do not have a baby with this man. OP, please take this comment to heart. As someone who left a husband like this was an early occurrence that I wish I had taken more seriously. Run, and don't look back. Not stay home. He did this totally out of spite, knowing it would cause you to be late to your exam. You are right. University doesn't last forever, and you will be able to go out and do more fun things when it's over. Might be worth reminding him that it's actually going to be longer until you can do that, now that you've missed your exam. On an unrelated note, if you just simply didn't want to go, that should also be fine. He doesn't need you to hold his hand everywhere. He seems disrespectful of your time, your work, and your autonomy. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my girlfriend pack? Me, 21 male, and my girl Katie, 20 female, moved in together a year ago. It's been pretty sick, not gonna lie. We've been dating since high school and we love living together. We also just found out she's pregnant last month, which has been scary as hell, but we're ready for it. Our lease is ending, and Katie begged to move farther from her parents so we could experience independence. I like our current apartment and would rather just stay here, but Katie insisted. I told her, fine, as long as I don't have to do anything. She agreed excitedly and got to work packing, basically as soon as she could get boxes. We decided to move to a city about 3 hours away. She promised I wouldn't have to do anything, except maybe help load some boxes in and out of our apartments. I did mention to her that maybe we should scrape some money together for movers or something. I don't know. I don't really understand pregnancy, but I'm pretty sure she's not supposed to be moving stuff. But she said she was fine, and I'm not about to tell her she's wrong. I've stuck to my word and basically haven't helped except for taping some boxes. She's packing basically everything and seems a little tired. Yesterday, she asked me to help wrap and tape some picture frames and bubble wrap. I said no, that's not part of our agreement. She said she knows, but she figured I would help a little bit. But why would I do that? We literally made an agreement. My girl started crying and said she's been feeling really tired and just wants a little help. She said she's had a headache for like a week and just wants to rest. I told her that's rough, and if she wants, I can run to Starbucks. She started crying and told me to just leave her alone. What did I even do? Like, I'm pretty sure this isn't my fault. But my boy said I don't understand women and laughed at me. Am I the a-hole for not helping my girl pack? Now for the top comments. But why would I do that? To show her you love and care for her and that you will love and care for the child she's carrying for you. You're the a-hole. Get your act together or you'll be seeing the kid weekends only if you're lucky. And don't give coffee to pregnant people either. But we're ready for it. Bro, I don't think you are. You're incredibly immature. So you're being petty because she wanted to move? If it's such a big issue, communicate. You're basically punishing her because you didn't like the decision. And in the same breath, you're pointing how she shouldn't be moving stuff because she's pregnant. You're also being a complete a-hole. That's not part of our agreement. She said she knows, but she figured I would help a little bit. But why would I do that? We literally made an agreement. Jesus Christ. Are you 12? What the actual heck? You couldn't help her. You're living together. You're apparently starting a family together, but you can't put aside your pettiness to help her? She said she's had a headache for like a week and just wants to rest. I told her that's rough, and if she wants, I can run to Starbucks. She started crying and told me to just leave her alone. So you're not just an a-hole. You're also insensitive. Have zero emotional intelligence, and then you decide to go ahead and consult with your boys, instead of showing a modicum of respect and common decency. I can't believe people like you reproduce. God bless your girlfriend because she's in for a rough ride. Do her a favor, mate. Either you do some serious self-reflection and grow the heck up, or leave her alone. Don't waste her time and energy. I can believe it. That was my ex-husband in a nutshell. Wait until he gets asked to put the Xbox controller down and change a diaper. You're the a-hole. I will move as long as you do all the actual work, is iffy to start with. It is the kind of thing 12-year-olds would think is a good idea, but is obviously a bad idea to anyone who has physically packed up an apartment. But to stick to that when she asks for help and she's pregnant is borderline unforgivable. You aren't holding her to her word, you are holding her out to dry. And that bodes very poorly for your future. Both because you come across like an awful partner, and this is the kind of thing that will stick in her craw for the rest of her life. You need to stop what you are doing. Give her a wholehearted apology and dive into packing. She should go lie down while you take on a lion's share. Because if you don't, this will be the screw-up that your relationship never moves past. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving the house almost as soon as I walked in after a week of being away? Long story short, I, 29 female, brought my 3 kids to my mom's for the past week for a little mini vacation that husband could not attend due to work. He was fine with us because he doesn't like my mom. I left last Friday and got back to our state this morning. When I walked through that door, the house was a pigsty. Dirty dishes everywhere but the sink, clothes everywhere, half-full soda cans strewn throughout the house. Even on my desk, which is behind my husband's, there were easily 8 soda cans, 4 bowls, silverware, plates, water glasses, and napkins. On my porch, there were at least 12 beer cans piled up beside the returnable bin, because his buddy Tyler came over Saturday to drink and apparently never cleaned up. Multiple takeout boxes and bags in both the kitchen and bedroom. My husband was in playing video games with 2 open bags of chips beside him, and like 5 cans of soda on his desk. He nonchalantly asks me how my trip was, as I was looking at the filth he created. It was spotless when I left, because I grew up in a trashed home and have severe triggers when it comes to a messy house, so I always clean. Our youngest son said something about how dirty the place was, and my husband said, "Oh yeah, sorry, I haven't had time to clean." Yet he had time to play video games. So I left, took the kids to the beach. I can't do filth. I truly cannot do it. He knows this. He knew when I was coming home too, because I called him as soon as we got back to Austin. So he had roughly 2 hours to even attempt to clean up a bit, and didn't. So anyways, I leave. He starts sending texts asking why I left because he missed us. And I said I refused to come home to that much filth. And that I found it over the top disrespectful that he would just leave it there, assuming I would pick it all up is my guess. He gets angry and says he has been at work and just hasn't had time, and wanted to spend some time relaxing on his video game before cleaning and sweating his butt off. I ignored it. He says I'm being controlling and over-obsessive. I need to chill out because he will get it done. So I text him about an hour ago, after 4 hours of being gone, and ask if it's done. And he says no, that he had stuff to do. So I booked a hotel and told him I won't be returning until it's finished. He is now pissed, saying he missed the kids and wants to see them now, but I'm keeping them from him. All because I can't deal with a bit of a mess. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Dude was living like a bachelor for a week. Picking up after yourself is not hard to do when you live alone. He created a much bigger job for himself than it needed to be. I would bet $1 million that he knew Opie liked the house clean and was banking on her picking up after him. Opie should tell her husband that she already has 3 kids. She doesn't want 4. The fact after 4 hours of no kids and wifey, he still refused to clean up his filth shows me he sees his wife as a bangmaid. He expects her to clean up after him, and will find any and every excuse possible as to why he's allowed to live like a pig without cleaning. Why it's apparently wifey's duty to be his domestic servant. Good for Opie. I hope she never returns to the lazy a-hole unless it's to kick him out of her kid's home. Not stay home. The kids don't need to live in filth. He is acting like a toddler, throwing a tantrum because he was told to pick up his toys before he gets his dinner. That's just hurtful to toddlers. My toddler cleans up better than this man. Not stay home. He was alone in a clean home by himself, and he not only trashed it but let his friends do it too. That is highly disrespectful to you and to the kids, since they are also coming home to a dirty house. You know it's bad when a young child says something because most lack a filter. He even went as far as putting trash on your desk. If he didn't want to clean, he could have kept his shenanigans outside the home or hire a one-off cleaner. I bet it would have been cheaper than you and the kids having to stay in a hotel until it cleans up. There is no reason your home should look like a dump due to one grown man being lazy. Wouldn't even go as far as saying child, because that would be disrespectful to children. Am I the a-hole for returning my stepdaughter's birthday gift because she didn't save a cupcake for my daughter? I, female 33, am engaged to my fiancé, male 36. I have a 4-year-old daughter and he has a 16-year-old daughter. He comes from a conservative family, so we won't move in together till after marriage. So far, we're on good terms as a blended family. But I noticed that my stepdaughter acts kind of distant towards my daughter. Every time I try to talk to my fiancé about it, he'd tell me to give the kids a chance to bond and warm up to each other. My stepdaughter's 16th birthday took place on Sunday. Since she's into baking, she decided to bake cupcakes instead of having an actual birthday cake. My daughter and I went over to my fiancé's house to attend a party, and I brought my stepdaughter a gift, which was an iPhone. We sat down as she started serving everyone cupcakes. Then when it was my daughter's turn, she bluntly said she was sorry, but she didn't save any for my daughter. I felt confused. I asked if she made enough cupcakes and whether there were guests that came uninvited. She said no, and that she just didn't make one for my daughter. I asked why, but she refused to say. I was so mad and felt hurt on my daughter's behalf. I got up and told my fiancé that I wanted to leave. My fiancé tried to stop me and offered his cupcake to my daughter, but I refused to take it. On the way out, I grabbed the gift I brought for my stepdaughter and she stood there and watched. I could hear her yell, "Dad, she took the iPhone," while I was walking out with my daughter. My fiancé tried to get me to go back inside, but I refused. Later, he came over and we had an argument. He said that I overreacted, and that I know how some teenagers can be moody and do random stuff without an explanation, so I shouldn't have taken it personally. I said she excluded my daughter and didn't save her a cupcake, but he said it was just a cupcake, and then reminded me that he offered his cupcake and said I should have accepted it and called it a day. He said taking the iPhone, which was supposed to be a gift, back was poor taste, and it might hurt my relationship with his daughter. I refused to give it to him so he could give it to her since she was crying about it. He left and was mad at me. We haven't talked since then except via texts. Edit, she's been wanting the iPhone for a while and since her dad couldn't buy it, I decided it'd be nice if I gifted it to her. For those who are asking how a teenager could own an iPhone, I'm sorry if it's uncommon where you live, but where I live, iPhone are the most common phones. Also, I saw that she served her girlfriend a whole plate of cupcakes. So it's not like she baked a specific number. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hole. And don't marry this man. He will clearly expect you to cater to his child at the expense of your own. This is who he is. Believe him and react accordingly. Yep, a 16-year-old is acting like this because she's been allowed to. And with only a few years before adulthood, the odds of her growing out of it aren't in OP's favor. You paid for an iPhone? Yeah. This really isn't about you being an a-hole in my opinion. It's not an overreaction when you feel like being disrespected and unappreciated. She left a 4-year-old out on purpose? Play stupid games, kiddo. Win stupid prizes. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but wake up. Why are you the one paying for the expensive gift? The iPhone should be a parent or grandparent gift, not from you. Leaving was your only option at that point. It takes a special kind of ugly to want to exclude a 4-year-old little kid from a birthday celebration. If stepdaughter can verbalize that she intentionally did not make a cupcake for your daughter, she's old enough to understand why you left. Edit. The more I think about this, the worse it gets. The stepdaughter being a jerk is one thing, but the fiancé's reaction is unforgivable. I also wouldn't be able to get over his whole family standing by and acting as if a teen bullying a preschooler is no big deal. This man and his whole family showed you who they are. Believe them. OP, you need to put major brakes on this relationship. Keep your finances separate. Consider it a blessing in disguise that you haven't moved in together yet. Oh, and I think you should give your daughter the phone. Let her use it to watch Disney+. If you're not ready to break up, you should pull way back on the money you spent on your boyfriend. Are you paying for trips and little luxuries? Try taking a break for a few months and see how he reacts. Open your eyes. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepmom that if my relationship with my brother is weird, then hers with her son is even weirder? I, 17 female, cannot stand my dad's wife, Lou, 42 female. We've never gotten along, but she adores my brothers and, of course, her son, 13 male. She thinks I look like my mom who she hates, and I guess it's a contributing factor and means she's stuck looking at me when I'm at her place. But it's mostly because she likes validation of guys, and will bring any girl down if meant all the guys in her life would adore her. But I don't care because I don't bother her and she usually doesn't bother me unless we are arguing. Me and my older brother, Lyle, 25 male, have an amazing relationship. We're the closest in age, and if I ever have an issue, I go to him, and like siblings do, we chill out in each other's room. Lou hates this and likes to barge in whenever she can to cause issues, and it causes arguments. But this one was the last straw. Me and Lyle were watching America's Got Talent auditions on YouTube, and Lou came home from work. I heard her talking to my dad, and he said I was here with Lyle. She immediately blew up and flew up the stairs and started screaming at me, telling me that she's sick to death of having to say that I'm not allowed boys in my room no matter if it's my brother. And this angered me, so I asked what she was insinuating, and she says, "You're literally in love with Lyle. You're always hugging and hiding up here, you sick little hooper." So I stood up and started yelling back, getting in her face, and said, "Don't freaking sexualize me and my brother just because you're the weirdo who wants her son and stepsons to be in love with her." I left after that, and my mom and her side of the family agree I acted fine. But my dad now won't talk to me, and I feel full of guilt. Edit. Just to say, guys, my brother, he called her the American version of Rosemary West. He can't stand her either. He has my back fully. And to my other brothers, one is in the military and is never home but doesn't know her, and the other is just civil with her but is nice. And he is unaware of what happened. Not the a-hole. Stepmom sounds like those parents who find anything wrong just to complain. But info, why do you still go to your dad's house? It sounds like he doesn't defend you at all. You seem old enough to say in court that you don't want to live with your dad. Good question. Me and my dad have a good relationship, and when me and Lou argue, unless I was the one who caused the drama, he had my back. But it is true, I could go to the courts. And with everything, it's definitely something I'm gonna do once I find out how I can get the wheels rolling. Not the a-hole. This is disgusting behavior from people that are supposed to be parental figures to you. And speak with your mom about staying there full-time because you shouldn't live with those types of people. Yeah, definitely. I've told her and she was ready for a fight. But I told her it's not worth it. So she's just gonna help me go to court and say I want to change the agreement to 50-50 custody. It's the last straw in my eyes. And I'm not gonna let some elderly woman sexualize me. Gross. Not the a-hole. What the heck is going on with your dad? Why is he allowing her to behave this way towards you and your brother? Good on you for standing up for yourself. This right here. You have a dad problem more than stepmom problem. If your dad had your back, your stepmom would never have talked to you in such a disgusting way. If I were you, I'd ask mom if she could petition for full custody and limit contact with dad and stepmom given their horrific accusations. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I don't want to name our child after her late husband? I'm 41 male, my wife is 38 female. She is pregnant with our first child together, and he was a big surprise. She is due in November. She has a daughter from her first marriage, 18 female, and goes to college now. I have a nephew, 16 male, who has lived with me since he was a toddler, and I consider him my kid. My wife and I got married 8 years ago. Her first husband died 15 years ago. We are finally making a short list of baby names for boys, and my wife has her heart set on Thomas, her first husband's name. I don't want to name our child after a deceased person because I feel that is just so much baggage to put on a child. I don't want it as a first or even a middle name. I told her that I am fine with whatever name, as long as he is named after someone. Anyone. She likes other names too. Daniel, Chris, James. I like them all. I will love my son with any name. I just don't want to name him after her late first husband. We talked about it the other day, and she told me all the reasons why she wants to name him Thomas. It will be her way of honoring him, of remembering him, it's a great name, etc. I think some of her reasons are super valid. I told her I really don't want our son to be named after her late husband. She said I am being insecure and jealous of a dead man. I said that is unfair to say. His picture is on the wall of our family pictures. We visit his grave together sometimes. His parents still come over to visit my wife sometimes. She still has her wedding ring from their wedding, though she doesn't wear it and wears a necklace he bought her. I'm okay with all of it. She said I am being a petty a-hole for not even wanting to use it as a middle name. Am I an a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm a widow. Your wife didn't finish grieving her husband. She married you before she finished putting her first husband behind her. She's still grieving and hasn't moved on. This is why his picture is up. This is why she still wants to visit the grave. She isn't finished grieving the loss. It is a terrible idea to name him after her late husband. Your child will grow up with the baggage of being named after the man that was in mom's life before dad, you. She doesn't want to name him after you, but after her late husband. That tells me that she isn't over her late husband and you are playing a second fiddle to a ghost. The child will eventually ask how he got his name. It seems to me that she wishes her late husband was the father of her soon-to-be son and not you. It seems like you are standing for the late husband. She was 23 when her husband died. She still lost for the marriage that could have been, but it wasn't because of his early death. The name is her way of keeping her late husband alive. This is absolutely cruel to you as you are the bi-dad, not the late husband. You have been married to your wife for longer than she was married to her first husband. So when does she put the first husband on the past as a distant fond memory? He is not in the past if she is visiting his grave and visiting with his parents. When my husband passed, our son was a teen. I know a lot of widowed people. After my mom passed, my dad's childhood sweetheart, she was always first. He visited her grave, etc. He had girlfriends as companions because he needed a sidekick. One girlfriend was desperate to marry. When he finally said that's not happening, she left. He stopped dating because he couldn't put someone else first as a partner. You have a bigger problem than the name of your child. Not the a-hole. And considering his memories included already in your family life, I don't think there's any jealousy. Not naming your kid after a dead person is perfectly sensible. Not naming your child after a partner's former partner is sensible. Yeah, definitely not the a-hole. She doesn't need to honor him by naming the child with her new husband after the old one. She needs to let go. She needs to know that the other things she's already doing are ways of remembering him. But she also needs to remember that if it weren't for his passing and then meeting you, that this baby would have never happened. The deceased husband will have no emotional or sentimental connection to your new baby. He'll be nothing to the child. Sorry. It would be weird for her to push him onto the future upbringing of your child. She's maybe feeling guilty for moving on and starting another family. Whatever's going on in her head, the baby and you are in the now. All the best, Opie. And she's robbing her daughter of being able to name her future children after her own father. I think it's really sad that your stepdaughter is going to have his sibling who isn't related to her own father, that your wife wants to have Carrie's name. Is the stepdaughter even on board with the name? Because I can see that souring her relationship with her mom if she's not. Now for the last story, am I the a-hole for responding to my step and half siblings the way I did? This is about me, 16 female, step-siblings 15 male and 14 female, and half-sister 7 female. So my dad died when I was 8. He and my mom were already separated at a time and she was already with her husband. I had never met him or his kids before, but his kids knew my mom. I struggled a lot with my dad being gone, and having these new people thrust into my life, with my mom's husband, then boyfriend, living with me, and trying to parent me. I struggled with her telling me I had siblings now. Then 3 days after I lost my dad, she told me she was pregnant. She and her husband were only together a few months by then, but she was pregnant. They were living together and then they decided to rush getting married so she could have his insurance. The whole thing was a lot. Early on, my step-siblings were really dismissive and mean about my dad. They'd tell me I was depressing everyone. They called me a baby because I wouldn't take off my dad's watch, which I have worn all the time since he died, for her wedding and the photos. Take into account she got married less than 2 months after he died. They would get mad when I would ask to have photos of my dad in the house. They told me he wasn't part of the family and that he'd be forgotten. I think my stepsister was copying her brother, but having both of them say mean stuff was a lot. I told my mom about it only after they told me their dad was adopting me. I got so upset. Mom told me she and her husband would take care of it. For a few years it stopped. It started again about 3 years ago, and it was because I wouldn't join them for a Father's Day thing at their dad's work. He took them and half-sister, but I said no to going. They told me I should be treating him like a dad. They taunted me that I didn't have one if I wouldn't let him be my dad. The last few months, it's been worse, and my half-sister joins in. They have said how they're glad my dad is dead, and how I make everyone miserable so I don't deserve a dad. My stepbrother said my dad was dumb, that he was a freak and people like him didn't belong in the world. We got into a fight. My stepsister told me my dad's death was the best thing that would ever happen, and I then yelled out that I would feel the same way when their dad died. That maybe I should throw a party and celebrate when it happens because they deserve it. And I freaking hate them. My mom and her husband overheard, so crap hit the fan. They got in trouble for what they had been saying. So did I. My mom's husband was extra angry at me though. He told me how ungrateful I was, and how dare I speak like that to his kids, to hurt them like that, to wish that on them. And how dare I feel that way about him. When, unlike his kids to my dad, he is actually my parent and my family, and I should not be comparing things at all. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The fact that he stood by while his kids said that to you? Unbelievable. It was only a matter of time before you blew up because of them. They should be so ashamed for being so insensitive. Just because your dad wasn't theirs does not give them the right nor audacity to tell you how to grieve a loving one. Your sister is slow for joining in, and they all need a reality check. He and I have had our own challenges. I know he's not super happy that I didn't want to be adopted by him and that I never started to call him dad or honor him for Father's Day. It really bothered him that I would still be happy to see photos of my dad in the house. Just lots of stuff. It's why I don't even say anything anymore about what they're doing. Mom can only do so much, but I think he kind of agrees with his kids and should never divorce or convince him to do more. If anything, we'd all end up in therapy together, and we hate each other too much for that to ever do any good. It's such a mess. It's not your fault. He can't force you to like him or make you treat him like a dad, especially when he acts the way he does. I hope for your sake things get better. Thanks. I think it will eventually, but probably not until I'm out of my mom's house.